This is my Ficus Benjamina that I call my office bonsai, or sometimes call my work bonsai. It's looking really good right now, I think. I've got a long playlist on this tree, and it's a good example of the transformation that a long, skinny tree can go through to get to something like this. I'll give you a quick look at how we got here. Back in November 23, this is what it looked like. It was really tall, not much taper at all in the trunk. Had it in a pretty big pot. I didn't know what I wanted to do yet exactly, so I just chopped its arms off. And I started with this. Quickly realized I didn't like that. But luckily for me, it back butted down lower on the trunk, which gave me some options. So with those options, I decided to air layer the top of it off and just work with the bottom part. I just cut about 1 inch or so strip of bark. Please excuse my bad cutting habits there. Should always be cutting away, not toward my fingers. Put some sphagnum moss in there. I tried a different method too. I just tried this open cup, and I did it in the grow tent, not outside. So I think that's kind of how I got away with it. Might be too dry otherwise. Isn't that pretty? I kid. Here it is about a month later. I've got it outside now. I thought, well, let's check to see if it's got roots. If it's got any at all, we'll go for it. And it did. It had some. I didn't like the open cup being outside. It's a little too dry in Idaho, I think. Or maybe I'm just being paranoid. I don't know. Either way, the air layer was successful, so I potted the top part up in its own little pot. Little training pot for now. And then begin the work on structuring that bottom part, or I'm going to call it the main office bonsai. And I call it my office bonsai because I kept it in my office for a long time. I've had it for about 8 years now, give or take. Here it is, I think just a couple of days after that air layer extraction. Not sure at this point what I'm doing with the air layer. It's got some weird branching structure. I'm sure it's going to take a total reset at some point, but we'll work on that. So fast forward through the end of 24 and now into February of 25. And like I said, I've got previous videos that span the gaps there. I'm just giving you the short version of how we got here. This is what the main tree looked like at this point. It's starting to take on a new personality, a new leader growing there with some taper, which is good. Still kind of straggly and long and stringy. At one point, I did another air layer, an air layer at the top of the air layer, leaving this. Again, there's another video for that. Kind of a weird curve. Again, I don't know what I'm doing with it yet. Here's what the air layer looked like, but we won't focus on it because it died. I'm not exactly sure what happened. It just died. So I trimmed up the main tree. And at this point, I'm not expecting it to be super pretty and beautiful. You know, it's wintertime. I'm just kind of thinking about the structure, what I want it to look like, and kind of building it from the ground up again. But I like the way it's going. Still waiting for some creative ideas to open up on this. Who knows? It's got that weird curve that kind of curves back in, and then it's got now this, I took some chunks out of that, like growth bulge. Fast forward a couple of months to April 27th of 25. So the air layer now is growing out quite a bit, opens up some options. I think it'll still be a while before this really takes on a good personality and nice looking structure. So in the meantime, we'll just do what we always do. We just trim it back, let it grow out, trim it back, let it grow out. At some point, something will open up, some kind of idea. Or if one doesn't, then the alternative, frustration and big chop. I decided to repot it just because I knew it still had some sphagnum moss in there and it felt like it was really tight. So, did a quick little repot. Rinsed it off, got some long roots there. So it was a little tight, not all the way tight like it felt. Trimmed up the big roots, left a good, healthy amount. Because I don't have any immediate plans for it yet anyway, so there's no need to get super drastic. Just let it stay healthy. Dated my little training pot there. And this is something I've been doing. Take like a flat stone or something, put it right underneath the root base. Just to stop the roots from growing straight down and encouraging them to grow out. You'll thank yourself later when you do this. Every time I do it, I'm always glad on any tree. So got it all potted up. The main focus today isn't necessarily this air layer. I just wanted to give you a quick update on it is all. Put some old stability rocks and let it keep on growing. But the main tree, which we're going to get to here in a second, that's one I'm actually the happiest with. Fast forward another month, May. Here it is, it's starting to grow out. Still has some old leaves on there. But lots of new leaves as well. I've got that little driftwood stick. I forget where exactly I got it. I just put it in there and yeah. Here it is the next month in June. I sort of debated on whether or not to trim it up. I decided to. I could have let it go a little longer, but I didn't want to because I had to take such drastic action on it anyways to get it back down to a decent size. I kind of want to prevent any issues rather than fix any issues. And by issues, I mean reverse taper or structure that just doesn't make sense. Kind of want to just guide it a little more closely. But what I really like about it now is that trunk thickness looks so much thicker when the tree is short. When it was way taller than that before the air layers, it didn't look that thick at all, and it probably was about the same size, maybe a tiny bit less. But when it's real tall, it just doesn't look as thick. Think about a guy who's 5'2" standing next to a guy who's 7'2", and they're both 200 pounds. Which one is going to look thicker? The guy who's 5'2". That's the best analogy I could come up with off the top of my head. Sorry. Hopefully it made sense. I don't like how those branches are starting to kind of come together like that. So I get rid of one. This is something I do a lot on Ficus Benjaminas with old leaves. If you don't really want to lose the leaf spot, and you're not sure if a leaf will grow back, you can just cut the leaf in half. That will sort of, in its own way, kind of encourage new growth. or if it's the only leaf on the branch and you need it because you don't want the branch to die back. So structurally speaking, I'm happy with it. I like that it's got some taper now. That taper will smooth out more and more with time. I mean, if you remember what it looked like right after the air layer, it looked like just a trunk chop with a stick coming off the top, which is what it was. But after a little wiring and a little time, about a year or so now it looks a little more gradual and it kind of flows more. I have not repotted this office bonsai in quite a while. Definitely going to be due for one probably soon. Hopefully I'll get to it this summer. Fast forward just another month and look at it already. This is probably the best I've ever seen it looking right here. Super healthy and full. Taper's good. The structure's good. I'm going to say, all in all, I'm really happy with it. And to think, this started as just a little cutting. Cutting like the size of one of those little branches there with a few leaves on it. Somewhere around 2017. And I just had it in a pot. Put the pot next to the window in my office. And just let it grow. Trimmed it back every now and then. You see some potato roots there forming. A little driftwood. So I'll address those roots when it comes time to repot it. But yeah, the foliage is looking nice and dense, thick, green, lively. So I'm super happy with it. Here's a look at that top air layer. At one point, I didn't get footage of this. It was a storm. I went out after the storm the next morning and this had fallen off the bench. Roots exposed, came out of the soil. I freaked out, put it back in. It's doing fine. So now just a light trim on the main office bonsai. I don't really feel the need to get too harsh with this trim. I just want to give it a short haircut, keep it on track, and then just let it keep growing. This time of year in July, these ficuses just don't skip a beat. Turn them up. Within like a week, you see new growth. Even in the fall, I kind of have an advantage with the grow tent because I can transfer them right into there, and they seem to have like growing momentum is what I'd call it. They have all this growing momentum from the whole summer built up. It's like they've just been growing and growing, and then I move them in the grow tent, and they keep on going for 2 or 3 months, it seems like. I usually move them in about October, early to mid-October. It's not until about December, I guess, when I think about it, that they start to slow down a little bit. As far as pruning style, I'm just doing some directional pruning. So as I'm looking at each cut or each branch, I'm just kind of deciding which direction do I want the branch to go. If I want to go left, if so, I cut it back to a leaf that is facing left. If I want to go right, I cut it back to a leaf that is facing right. And that's typically the direction that it will grow. Not 100% of the time, sometimes they're rebellious, but pretty reliably. And that's really just Ficus Benjamina. Other trees are like that too, but not all trees, I should say. I'll give you an example of one that doesn't do it that way, and that's Schefflera. I've yet to ever figure out how to directionally prune a Schefflera. They seem to just grow out of whatever direction they want every time. I don't know. But this is where I leave the office bonsai for now. I think it's looking pretty good. I'm going to let it keep going. Let me know your thoughts and comments. Thank you for watching and have a good rest of your day, everybody.